Welcome to another episode of What the Falafel. I'm so excited to bring you the only Jew I probably know that lives on a boat. It's Adam Lind.
Hello.
I'm so excited, but I feel like we have to start by saying how bashert it is that you're here, because I was doing a school run pickup and one of my friends, Amy, says, you've got to get Adam Lind on your podcast, who was standing meters away from your sister. She's like, that's his sister. That's her sister. Anyway, and then I was with my dad, who hardly ever does pickups, and he says, I know Adam Lind. He used to live with Paige, who's basically my step sister. And then we're at Wilderness Festival with the thousands of people. I see you sitting on the grass. I go, I think that's Adam Lind. And then I just casually, I made it seem like it was really casual that I accidentally walked past, but I sort of did a loop.
How many circles did you do around me before you came over?
Just one. And then I bumped into your mum at a funeral, sadly, the other day. And she said, oh, I've heard about your podcast. I'm Adam's mum. She's now my Facebook friend, by the way.
She is.
And then someone else messaged me saying, this guy's great. So then I wore you down and convinced you to come on.
Yeah, I was just saying to you, wasn't I? I really respect the hustle, because I was really unsure about coming on for reasons that we'll probably get into. But I just love when someone's got this spirit in them that they just like, they've got their eyes on something and they want to do it. Yeah. So I think you were like, I'm not gonna let you say no. And I was like, that's so a bit of me to be like, I want something and I'm gonna get it. So
I actually did say before, though, that I didn't feel like I had to push you that hard.
Wow, so I'm clearly weak.
Not the slightest, no, but maybe I should have given it more. Anyway, you're here and I'm so
here.
pleased. But for people that don't know your story, can you just give us a brief, or like, how would you describe what you do now and what you're about now? Because I feel like I always try and put together a story for someone, but actually it's so much better to hear from your own words.
Yeah, it's also really hard to obviously contextualize a story, but I guess if I was to say I am a author, content creator, human connection advocate, I've got a real passion to like live my life in a way that feels purposeful to me. The journey kind of started, I guess, I usually take it back to when I was a teenager. I lost my father to alcoholism, and it was through the grieving process where I kind of had this understanding, or this awakening, let's say, that life is very temporary. Life is completely impermanent. It's finite, but we live often as if it's infinite and as if like it's going to go on forever. And I felt like this veil of kind of society had just been lifted away from me when like my dad went, and I was like, well, where is he and where's he gone and where am I going to go when I die? And all of these questions that were quite heavy for a teenager. And it was in that process I was like, wow, I've only probably got 80 years on this earth, so I'm going to like vow to live it in a way that feels really fun, actually, is the word I'd use, and live through experiences and be able to look back when I'm 80, 90, however old, and be like, wow, that was a good time.
Yeah. You were 17 at the time?
Yeah, 17.
I think that's a turbulent period for any child, teenager. There's a lot going on, but for you to go through that, and not only go through that, and it's funny because I spoke to your mum and she said, oh, he could have gone either way and he really chose to, and I'm so proud of him. What was that turning point for you that it clicked in your head that actually you want to make the most out of your life? Because some people can really go the other way.
Yeah, I think it was a bit of a journey. It was through the grieving process was when I first figured out how important it was to take control of my own mind, because I basically had this experience where I was like every day just like crying and asking all these questions, and it was also existential, and I just felt like this grief phase was going to last forever. And I remember this pinnacle moment where I said, right, I'm just going to lie down on my bed and I'm going to close my eyes and I'm going to pretend in my mind that I'm like on a beach with my friends. And I remember laying on the bed, putting my arms by my side and just imagining I was on a beach with my friends. And I remember coming out of this kind of dreamlike state, not knowing if it had been a couple of minutes or a couple of hours. It felt really out of body, and I felt calm and I felt good. And it was like, oh, hold on a minute. I actually had control there to change what was going on in my mind. I took myself out of this like, why is this happening to me and where's my dad gone? And channeled it into a different way of thinking. So then I just became infatuated with this idea that, oh, hold on a minute, I can control my thoughts. And if I can control my thoughts, then surely I can control my whole life, because we're so led by the mind every single day, every single moment of our decision. So I think that was the turning point of this discovery of like mind control and mindset, which has led me to kind of, be where I am today.
Where did you go from there? Because it's great having these thoughts, but then what was the next step to learning about your mind?
Yeah, I think the real impactful big decision for me at first was just leaving Essex, where I grew up, and going to university. I moved to Leeds because I felt like I grew up in quite a bubble. And there was positives and negatives to being in this kind of Jewish bubble.
I was going to say, was it a Jewish bubble?
Yeah, it was a pretty Jewish bubble. And, you know, I feel like some people don't realize that you can create an echo chamber when you're only surrounding yourself with people that have very similar beliefs and ideas to you. And it was funny, like moving to Leeds, it was like moving to another country, because all of a sudden I was meeting people from Newcastle and Liverpool, and there was people next door that just moved from Dubai, and all different races and nationalities. And it just kind of opened my ideas to, wow, you know, there's a whole world out there that outside of Barkingside. And yeah, so that I think was kind of my first insight to being really curious about other people and curious about the world. And then in my second year of university, I met my wife, my now wife. We've been together 12 years. And she had this thirst that she always wanted to travel. And I was very much like not really knowing what I wanted to do after university when we graduated. And we had this idea that we were going to go on this adventure across the world. And we hadn't saved up much money, but we didn't want that to be a limitation. So we kind of decided we were going to try and hitchhike from London to India. So the idea was no trains, no aeroplanes and no buses, and rely completely on the kindness of strangers and our thumb to take us from A to B. Because we figured out one of the most expensive travel costs are like getting from A to B, be that trains or buses or flights, and accommodation like hotels, hostels, Airbnbs. So we thought if we can eradicate those costs, then our journey becomes infinite for the amount of time. So yeah, we were on the road for 5 years. I think the first 2.5 years we only used paid accommodation twice, never paid for any travel, never took a train, plane or bus, picked up by thousands of strangers across 26 countries. And it was just this mad kind of social experiment, I guess. That's not what we called it at the time. Yeah. We were just like free-spirited and believed that people were good. I feel like that's kind of my activism at the moment, is like I believe people are good. Everyone is kind of a product of their experiences or a product of their environment. And yeah, I just feel like really determined to prove that in my own way.
I love that. And I think we actually need that so much now, because so many people I speak to have got this approach of the world's going mad, everything's gone bonkers, especially England. And then that in itself is just bringing the whole vibration down. And we need people to actually prove that wrong.
I think, yeah, on a day-to-day level, it's very rare that you walk out the street, go to a shop, go to a restaurant, go wherever you go, and people are like evil to you, or you have bad experiences. It can be something as simple as someone letting you go in front of them in the supermarket, or someone saying hello to you as you walk past. Like on a micro level, day-to-day, there's not that much chaos going on. But when we're so, you know, consumed by the news and consumed by, you know, the globalization of what's going on around the world, it can really lead us to believe that the world is bad. Yeah. People think that this is a bit ignorant, and I'm completely open to that it is. I don't watch any news. I avoid the news near enough at all costs. And I had an interesting conversation with a woman the other day. She was 80 actually happened to be Jewish. And she was like, you're burying your head in the sand and you're ignorant. And I said, you're right. And I completely respect your view on that. But also, if there's not people that are kind of doing activism in their own way, like I just completed this walk that maybe we'll talk about, that's my level of burying my head in the sand in one sense, but also showing people what else is going on day to day between people.
Yeah. And I definitely want to come back and circle back, firstly to the walk, but also to the travelling part of it, because I find that really interesting, and there was amazing stories around that. But this part of burying your head in the sand or being ignorant, I disagree with that. I'm actually with you, because I feel that the news will select things that they want to show you. And there's so much going on in the world that we don't know about, and so much other stuff that it's like, well, why should we find out about this? And I'm sure I saw a reel on your Instagram where you talk about the good that people do, and that's not shown in the news either. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's like, well, why should we expose ourselves to that hand-selected part rather than know everything? Also, to interrupt myself with this, I'm getting into Kabbalah recently, and they say that you shouldn't watch the news, because what will find you will find you. Everything that you need to know will find you.
Wow, that's really interesting. And also, I think particularly if we're consuming news through social media, I did a bit of an experiment the other day where I had two friends that have quite different political views and quite different views on a lot of the stuff going on in the world right now. And we took out both their phones and we looked through the reels they were being shown, the Instagram stories they were being shown, and both of them were being completely supported by their view. And it was like almost like they were living, they were watching two different worlds going on, but they were talking about the same situation. So be that politics, be that war, be that whatever. The issue with like the algorithm of social media is you are going to be forcefully fed to back up whatever you believe in. So of course we're having these polarizing views where people are like, how can you say this because this is happening? They're like, no, how can you say this because this is happening? Because both of these people are just being reinforced and reinstated what they already believe. And it was mad. And even to the point where like sometimes the same video would be shown to them, but if you go in the comments, the top 10 comments for one of them compared to the top 10 comments for the other were completely different comments. And the comments for this person was backing up what they believe, and the comments for this person was backing up what they believe. So this is for me why I have to step away from it all. And yeah, kind of just like, I'm very empathic and I'm very sensitive, and I have had times of being like really strongly into activism a few years ago, and it made me depressed, it made me suicidal at times, it made me like just couldn't face it. So it's like, if I can show up in the way that I feel is going to serve the people around me, like that's all I can really do. Like I'm not going to change the world. I respect people that want to, but that's not what I'm here to do.
I think that's also part of it, where we can get so absorbed in the heaviness and it becomes like anger, and that anger is never going to bring light to any situation whatsoever. What activism were you involved in?
More just like, I had really strong political views. I had really strong, like, you know, a lot of it was around when they were building HS2 and stuff. I had friends that were like living in the trees, you know, to try and protect the forest. There was literally people that had been in their home for like 5 generations, got a knock on the door like, we're knocking your house down. They had no option, right? And like, I'd go visit my friends that were living in the camps, and they would like be in the trees, and there was only so long they could be there until they came and bulldozed them down, and then they'd move to another camp. And it was like I was watching their souls get destroyed again and again. And it's like, it just made me so depressed that it's like, you know, this isn't the fight for me to be fighting. I want to be fighting the fight, just trying to show that people are kind and people are good.
Yeah.
And the same when it comes to like wars and, you know, all the other stuff going on in England at the moment. I can't indulge in it because it takes me away from my message, which is trying to spread this idea of like human kindness and this idea of compassion. Like, it's so hard to be compassionate when you're so deeply into like the news.
100%. I feel that. How do you manage that though, being on your phone? Because you must be on it a lot for what you do, being a content creator. Have you got an algorithm where it's just like boats and nature, and have you like hacked it to the point that you don't see politics anymore?
I try and actually have quite strong boundaries with my phone, actually, like, even though it's my job. I'll try my best to do like the first hour when I wake up, no phone, because I feel like I notice on the days when I wake up and get straight on the phone, it like affects my mood for the day. Even if I've seen positive things, it's like, I feel like we give away our power so quickly as soon as we wake up by consuming all this information. We don't even give our minds, even if it's not an hour, like even if you give yourself 10 minutes, and that doesn't mean you've got to meditate for 10 minutes or do breath work or get in an ice bath, like just make a coffee without looking at the phone or whatever you want to do. I think starting your day with that small moment of peace is like so integral to me in my life. And to talk really candidly, because I don't want this to come across I'm this perfect person, the last few days I definitely haven't done that, and I've noticed a shift in my energy. I've noticed I'm more chaotic and in a rush, and there's like a lack of peace within me, and I think it's correlated to waking up and getting straight on the phone. And then again in the evening as well, like, you know, there's often not much I need to be checking after 7 p.m, 8 p.m. Obviously, some nights I just sit there scrolling like a zombie, but I've got this little box on the boat that's called the phone box, and I'll try and like put the phone in the box, put it away, and there's something like quite ceremonial about locking it in the box and putting it on the cabinet, because if it's there, you know, we'll always find an excuse to have it. But yeah, just being careful with what I consume, really, and trying to have as many conversations with people in person away from the phone definitely helps.
You seem to be very open-minded. That's what I really love. I mean, there's so much I love about your Instagram and everything that you show and share. But when you really highlight that you take the time to understand other people's point of view, and you're very neutral, you don't come across as having a specific thing, or you're open to change as well.
100%. I mean, one of my favorite sayings is everybody is doing the best they can with the resources they have. And I think when you remember that, it's really hard to dislike someone, because like everyone's got a story. You know, it's like everyone's got past experiences. You don't know what's happened to that person to lead them to be this way. So I have this inherent belief that near enough all people are good, and even the people that do really bad things, because they've likely been a product of what they've been shown in their environment. So I think it's so easy to just write someone off, or, you know, one of my favorite things is this concept called cause and effect. And a lot of people in today's society live in effect, meaning like, you've done this to me, or like, I'm now angry because you did this to me, right? Like, you've affected me. But what I would like to try and move into is that I'm the cause of everything. So you've said this to me, and I've allowed myself to now be angry. Because if you just blame everyone else for everything, you give away all your power. So it's like, people are going to do bad stuff to you all the time. Bad stuff's going to happen around you. Things are going to trigger you. And if you're like, well, I'm annoyed because they did this, or like the tax man did this and now I'm annoyed. It's like, no, the tax man did this and I'm now allowing myself to be angered by it. So when I become the cause of all of my feelings and emotions, I regain all of my power. And it's like, that's all I can change. I'm never going to change anyone around me. And this also doesn't mean we let people walk all over us. There's people that, you know, if they're doing it too much, then maybe they shouldn't be in your life. But ultimately, if you can be the cause of all your problems, then you can be the cause of all your healing.
Yeah, it's taking responsibility.
For sure.
I think I said before we got on this that you share some of your favourite books, like Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. That also changed my life years ago. And just all those mindset shifts change everything. Because when you realise that you can only change yourself and not other people, it's a bit scary and it's hard work because, okay, well, now you're in the driver's seat of your own life, but it can change everything.
Yeah, for sure. You said it perfectly. You only have control over yourself, and like, it's amazing. You watch, and I've done this as well in my relationship. You feel like, oh, if they were just a bit more like this, then our relationship would be better, or why can't they be more like this? And it's constantly about the other person, and it's very rare that like we take that self-reflection of like, what role do I have to play in this? Happened recently, me and my wife were going through something, and I had this light bulb moment through a friend that was with us, and like observed something that happened in a conversation that like, wow, actually, like, I have so much of the role to play in what's going on. But it's so easy to forget that, right? Because again, we just want to, it's so much easier to deflect.
Yeah, absolutely. That deflection is the key piece we all need to be working on. Bring it back to ourselves. And I really want to get into, I felt like that was such a beautiful way to lead into your kindness project, but I have had a signal that we've got food coming.
Great.
So I'm going to have to let that in, but hold that in your mind, because there's two things. I want to talk about the traveling, I want to talk about the kindness project, and there's so much more. But for now, I'm going to have to call, bring in the food, please.
It's the best podcast ever.
Well, it's a Jewish podcast. I say it has to be food. What would we be without food? Hello. Hi, good. How are you?
This is amazing.
So this is Louis from Balagan.
Nice to meet you. Adam.
Louis. Good. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Good.
You?
So Balagan, I don't know whether you've seen it or been there. It's a kosher restaurant, obviously Jewish podcast, in Borehamwood.
Okay.
And they do like the nicest selection of shawarma and falafel pittas.
Oh my gosh.
So we thought we'd feed our guests.
Insane.
Oh, wow. Amazing. Zev's been trying to get the fried chicken on the podcast, but because I'm a nutritionist in my spare time, well, other time.
Even nutritionists can eat fried chicken sometimes.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Got some sauces.
Thank you. Lovely. I love the that comes with that as well.
Sweet chili and burger sauce.
Oh, amazing.
Some hummus falafel.
Hummus falafel. Perfect. Thank you.
Shawarma salad, no tomato.
Love it.
You
Thanks.
don't do tomatoes.
Well, I sort of do, but I'm like I'm trying to go for like a low histamine diet.
Okay.
And yet chickpeas, chocolate, and everything else falls under that, so I'm failing massively. But I thought if I just take
I like that you get rid of the tomatoes and not the chocolate or the...
Pick your battles.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this looks absolutely unbelievable. You've loaded us up today. Thank you so much.
Enjoy.
Thank you so much.
We're going to get you back to loving being Jewish through the food.
The food part's the bit that will always stay with me.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thanks, buddy.
Absolutely
Nice
amazing.
to meet you.
Thank you so much. So what I will say as well, just while we've got this here, anyone that wants to go to Balagan, please check it out. It's in Borehamwood. You can get 10% off by saying, what the falafel, and they'll feed you. But now I'm going to open all the cases and we can tuck in.
Let's do it.
Let's see. They've said, oh... Ooh, so these are Moroccan cigars.
Wow.
There's
What's inside it?
meat, I think.
It's going to be hard to eat and mic.
Oh my goodness.
Or unless we
This
move the
actually
mics.
looks like Kentucky fried chicken, but it's kosher fried chicken. That looks good.
This is the most Jewish thing ever. It's so
Of course. Plates, forks.
Okay. Want me to capture
we
going,
load up our plate and then
mmm. Is that what we're going for?
that is here. We can load up the plate and then
Okay.
sit back. That tends to work.
This is great.
Yeah.
Should have just told me this part of the podcast. This is how you would have got me on straight away.
Spice. Do you do spice? I'm not. This is ridiculous. Sitting back. Do you do spice?
Sometimes.
Move it. No, because then it might move. This is a whole different type of podcast.
Yes.
Have you tried amber sauce?
No,
before?
what's amber sauce?
So amber sauce. So we learned that actually the Jews invented amber sauce. This is like my proudest moment whenever the food comes out, because they were traveling to India or from India. They had to preserve mangoes, so they had like canned mangoes and put spices in to preserve them. And so it's like a mango turmeric sauce.
Sounds great.
I'll pass it over.
And then do we keep chatting while we eat?
Yeah.
Cool.
And try not to get food in our teeth, and
I'm not bothered
it's
about that.
glorious. Good.
Yeah, I bet some people would be that weirded out by eating and chatting,
Yeah.
no?
Yeah. Well, I think I've got the hardest job because I've got to ask the question. Mind you, you have to answer
I was
the
going
question.
to say,
It's
no,
not the
you
hardest
don't.
job at all.
You don't. You've got the easy job, actually. You can just ask a question and then sit back.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know why I thought that. I've got long bits of cabbage that's going to go down. So do you, I mean, this kind of leads us into like the whole Jewish thing. I'm just going to use the Jewish food to catapult us into your Jewish heritage. You went to I know you went to King Solomon.
Yeah.
Did you go to IJPS as well?
I did.
So you really were like in it from the start, right?
Mm-hmm. Full indoctrination.
Good. When I saw you, I don't know whether you'll appreciate me saying this. I saw you in the middle of the field and wilderness, and you were like, what did you say? Yeah, I kind of find Judaism a bit of a cult, so I don't know whether I want to come on your podcast. Why? Talk to me about it. Because this is what I was trying to run for years, because I got into the whole spiritual world and manifesting, and I was going to like yoga events, and I loved it. And I'm like, these people are decent, like, but Jewish is just on the side thing. And the more I tried to run from it, the more I realised that you're just always going to be Jewish. Can't hide it. Can't fight it. You are.
Culturally, for sure. And the cult thing was obviously a joke, by the way. And like, I'm not proud of my Jewish heritage. There's definitely been times where I did feel not proud of it. I think the complex for me started when, actually around the time I lost my dad, I became really inquisitive about the world. And there was a pinnacle moment where I was at secondary school, and it just hit me that we'd only ever learnt Jewish studies. And when I started to meet more friends and they told me they were learning religious education, it felt strange to me. So I asked the question in a Jewish studies class, like, why can't we learn about other religions? And I was really shut down, like, by the teacher. And that's when I just started to feel a bit like this, I don't know, just something didn't feel right to me. Like, one, I should be allowed to be inquisitive and curious in any lesson. I think that's the point of learning. And two, what is there to hide about learning about other religions? It felt to me a bit like this is all you're allowed to know. So the indoctrination bit is a bit tongue-in-cheek, but yeah, I won't lie by saying it did feel a bit like why everyone else I'm meeting at other schools learning about Judaism as well as all the other religions and we're not. Yeah. So it got my back up a little bit. And then I think when I left the area and would come back, I was just struggling to connect with people as much because I felt like there was a bit of like an us and them mentality. And then I met my wife, and like people would like use words like, oh, he's married out. And it's like these phrases, like out of what? Like out of...
The cult.
Yeah, it felt a bit...
The tribe. Let's say tribe.
Yeah, it just felt... But also I don't blame any of these people because, again, we're all products of our environment. And I felt like I had to really resent all of that to then eventually now find the beauty in it again. And I feel really proud of it. And I feel proud to like the culture of it and the community. Like my wife still says to me, like, do you realize how insane it is that you've still got like 50 plus friends from school? Like that's not normal, you know, like for people that live in other communities. And also this isn't just on Judaism, but for me, I feel like it's such a paradox because in one way, religion can really connect people, but it can also really segregate people. And being someone that wants to connect with as many people as I can, I found let's call it organized religions of any kind as a concept, for me, just too segregating rather than connecting. And that's just kind of, where my kind of fear around it, I guess, or resistance to it comes from.
Yeah.
I hope that's not offensive to anyone listening.
No, it's not. And this is also why I wanted you on. I don't want people to come on and just everyone have the same view. I think it's, like you said, it's really important to hear other people's points of view. And interesting, and that's where it's diverse. I didn't realise that Jewish schools... Actually, my son's at a Jewish school and he often talks about different religions.
Okay,
but I
good.
wonder
So maybe it's changed.
I hope so. Although I think they covered Easter and not Christmas. And I'm thinking, well, we live in a Christmas country. We live in a Christian country. We need to learn this stuff, especially. But he was definitely talking to me about Diwali, and he made like a light holder for Diwali, I think.
Great. That's
so
really cool
it is
to
good.
hear.
So I'm surprised to hear that. But we absolutely should be able to explore things. What I found really interesting, I was telling you before, I was reading a very political book recently, and it says that actually Judaism isn't just a religion, it's like a tribal, we're like a people. Like when they say Israel High, that apparently there's no word for religion in the Torah, but they say as in people, we are the people. I don't know whether that helps anything. Come back to the tribe. No, but I found that interesting, as then there's lots of cultural stuff, and for me, it's like the food and community. I think that is the best part, some of the best parts about it.
For sure. And like I say, the community side of it is something I love. I really struggle with, I don't know if I should go into saying this, but whatever. I really struggle with internalized racism. And I sense through some of my friends that grew up at the same schools as me and never traveled and never left. And I'm not saying like I'm amazing because I went and did all that stuff. No fault of their own, have a bit of internalized racism. Like I notice it if we're just somewhere, or they'll pick up on like their neighbours or just something. There's just some stuff that gets said that makes me feel quite deeply uncomfortable.
Sorry, what do you mean internalized racism? Like
internalized racism is essentially you're not trying to offend people. Like you're not out and out being a racist from a way that you're trying to like be mean about someone, but it's internalized through what you've shown. So it's like it's subtle. And there's often no bad intent or no malicious intent, but when I hear it, it's really uncomfortable. But because you're only hanging around with people that you've always grown up with and it's all the same, you don't even notice it because everyone's doing the same thing. And it's that kind of bubble mentality that I really struggle to kind of like really get into. Yeah. It's like that whole funny thing. They'll be like, well, I'm not racist, but... Yeah. Or like, well, I'm blah, blah, blah. Oh, but actually, like I work with an Indian guy. And it's like, that doesn't make it okay. But also... I don't think any of these people are being malicious, and I don't think it's of bad intent. And that's why it's internalized. It's been passed on through things they've heard at school or things they've heard from their parents or grandparents. And it's just something that I struggle personally to be around. And there'd be many years where I'd try and like preach back against it or like try and tell them why it's wrong, but that's not my place or role to do. And I think that's why I started to just remove myself more and more, because it just made me feel uncomfortable. But that also doesn't mean that my way is correct, by the way. Like we've all got our own level of what we want to be around, so doesn't mean that my way's right either.
But it's nice to hear the other side of it, and I appreciate you being so honest. And these conversations are quite good because it might make us more aware when we are talking and when we're behaving in certain ways or whatever. I speak as if I'm speaking from the Jewish people. I'm not, I just mean in general. On behalf of the Jews, I'm sorry. No, as in, I think it's important to just have these conversations for anyone, just anyone, whatever religion you are, whatever race you are, to just be aware of how things might be coming across.
For sure. And yeah, look, if it does make someone think that, for sure, but also people might be being like, who the hell's this guy and what's he saying? And that's also completely okay. But on the flip side, like I say, the fact that I see my family have so much support system around them, or like somebody dies and you go somewhere and people that barely even knew the person, everyone gathers together. Like, don't get me wrong, I know the community aspect is so strong, so important. Like my mum lives in a certain housing situation that wouldn't be possible if she wasn't Jewish, like through not having, that much money and stuff like that. So I definitely see the pros. I guess my resistance initially to coming on this was like, I don't necessarily see myself as Jewish from a religious context because I'm not a religious person. Someone referred to themselves the other day as like an atheist Jew. And I loved that because they were like culturally and community-wise, I will always have the Jew in me. But when it comes to like the belief system around it, like it's not something I personally hold.
Yeah. I can appreciate that. And it is important to have all these different conversations. And the food will bring us together. But
Always.
you said in your book, and we'll come to your book, there's so much to cover. You said that you love like the Friday night dinners and the families, but also your household was very busy. You said your mum would invite loads of people over, and there were always people coming in through your doors.
Yeah, for as long as I can remember, even though we didn't have much money, it was always open house. Like my house was the place where friends would come if they'd fallen out with their parents, or if they'd bunked school and didn't want their parents to know, they'd be like hiding at my house. If any of my mum's friends or their children had something going on, ours was the place to be. And I think that really instilled this trust in strangers that I attained when I wanted to travel the world and trust people. And yeah, it was just a household always filled with people and strangers and laughter and openness. So yeah, that definitely was great.
Well, that brings me back to the travelling part, because were you not terrified, or were other people terrified for you, going and just hitchhiking? You're not worried that you could get killed at some point?
Other people were definitely a lot more worried than we were. I think when you have this inherent belief that almost 100% of people are good, the chances of being picked up by someone that's going to kill you are like really minuscule. So I think also your intuition and your gut is really important, and it's something, it's more of a broader topic that we've really stopped listening to. You know, like as soon as we want to know the answer to something, we'll be on Google, we'll be on ChatGPT. We rarely ask ourselves. And one of the things with the hitchhiking or the interacting with strangers, if your gut feels like something's not right, which it did sometimes, you listen to it. Sometimes a car would stop and offer us a ride and something would say, don't get in, and we wouldn't get in. So it wasn't just like, you know, anyone that offered us anything we would take. I would say 95% we probably did. And actually the only couple of probably hairy experiences we had, when I look back, my gut actually knew anyway. So listening to ourselves and listening to our intuition, not just in regards to hitchhiking, but in anything, in food choices, in relationships, in job moves or whatever. Yes, it's good to talk to your community or the people around you, and you can Google or Reddit or ChatGPT till your eyes bleed. But actually listening to yourself, I think, is something that we're just completely moving away from in today's society.
Yeah. I'm often talking to my clients about this, especially like that feminine intuition that I say that we're losing. But it is because this modern technology is coming in. We outsource all of our questions. So bringing it back to us is amazing. But you did say you got into a car and you were chatting for ages, and then there was a guy that said, oh, my friend killed his wife, but you were totally fine with it. Meanwhile, Lauren, your wife, was freaking out a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's a long story, but I'll try to shorten it. We were in Turkey and we got picked. By the way, I just want to say Turkey was the best place we hitchhiked, the friendliest culture of any country we went to. We used to, like, at the end of when we'd leave a country, we'd work out the average waiting time that we'd wait with our thumb out. France was like 25 minutes, Spain was like 40 minutes, Turkey was like less than a minute.
Wow.
The first car would always stop, and if not, it would be the second. We always say the hardest part about hitchhiking in Turkey is they would insist on taking you for lunch, taking you to meet their family. So we'd like go on a ride with someone, they'd take us for this lavish lunch, and then we'd want to carry on up the motorway and we'd get picked up, and then they'd insist on taking us for a lavish lunch, and we were so full. But the hardest part is like the hiding in between the rides to like reject these lunches. I think it's because in the Quran it says you need to treat strangers as if they're gods. So because we were strangers in their country, it kind of like instilled that belief in them. But yeah, we got picked up by these two guys, and as soon as we got in the car, rather than the kind of normal conversation of like, what's your job and what do you do? I could tell the guy was like quite deep and philosophical, because he was like, what do you believe happens when you die? Or like, what's your purpose in life? And I was like, oh, I'm here for this. Like, I hate small talk anyway. And then as the journey went on, we were like 5-10 minutes before the end. And the guy in the seat next to him, who hadn't spoken much because he didn't speak English, he got a fly in his eye. So we pulled into a gas station for him to sort the eye out, and then the driver turns around to us and he says, oh, that guy next to me is like one of the kindest men I've ever met, but he did just get out of prison for killing his wife. And he said, I met him in prison because I was also in there for killing my wife. And I remember like I could feel Lauren's hand like grab mine, and she was so scared, which I completely get. And then a couple minutes later, we were at the destination. They let us out. They got our bags out for us, gave us the number, bought us an orange juice, and was like, if you need anything, And Lauren was like, oh my God, like I thought they were going to kill us. Da, da, da. But I don't know what it was. Something about me felt really calm. And I'm absolutely in no way condoning what they did. I don't think anyone should kill anyone, particularly not their wives. But it basically brought up for me this bigger question of, do we now hate these two men because we've learned something they've done, even though the experience we had with them was like filled with kindness? And do people deserve second chances in any sense of the word for stuff like this? And I'm not saying they do, by the way, like, because I've told that story before and people are like, of course not, you animal. I'm not saying they do deserve a second chance. I don't know the answer. But I just thought the whole topic of conversation was so interesting. This idea of can good people do bad things and vice versa? And like, they helped us, they drove so out their way to help us. And am I now meant to hate them, basically? And I still don't know the answer to that, to be honest. But it allowed me to ask this question in a lot softer moments, like not killing people, just people doing bad things to me on a smaller scale. And like, am I allowed to be okay with that when they've also done good? Does that make sense?
Philosophical thought.
Yeah, that's welcome to my head.
I'd love to be in your head for a day.
I don't know if you would.
But it's interesting. I keep saying it's the way you look at things. It's just very refreshing. One thing, I can't leave the travel part without talking about your trip to India, where you ended up finding this woman. Oh God, I don't want to say her name in case I get it completely wrong.
Try it.
Pushkal.
That's the place we were, Pushkar.
Oh, okay. Well, at least I was right with the name. Oh,
Guti.
Guti. Guti. Okay. I didn't want to throw out random names. So this story is unbelievable. You're going to tell it better than I can. In fact, I'm just going to hand it over to you. Can you just tell us about this story? And this highlights just... I don't want to fangirl you by being like, you're just amazing. But it's a very lovely story, shall we say.
Yeah, I guess the story started, Lauren and I were in India. We took a hitchhike ride. And often when you're hitchhiking in Eastern countries, they think you've got no money. And we'd always be like, no, we're doing this for the experience. We don't need money. And this guy was like insisting on giving us this 500 rupee note, which is about £5. We said no like 10, 15 times, but it's like, kind of gets to the point where if someone really wants to do something nice for you, you should just accept it, you know, because they want to do it because it makes them feel good. And we said, I think it was actually Lauren that said, let's just keep it in the wallet and one day we'll pay it forward to someone when it feels right. And we'd kind of forgot about it. We got to Pushkar, which is this beautiful like holy village in Rajasthan, about an hour and a half from Jaipur. And like there's beggars all over India. When you first get there and the women come up to you with like this gesture to their face, you know, you want to help everyone, and then you soon realize like you help 10 and then there's another 10, you do unfortunately become a bit desensitized to it. But when this woman approached us with a baby in her arm, there was just, I don't know, the way she looked at us in our eyes, there was just something. And Lauren was like, I want to give her that money. And I was like, oh great, I forgot about that. So we gave her the money, and they invited us to go to sunset with them, because these women, they're like Rajasthani gypsies. And I don't know if you know about the caste system in India, but basically the surname you have and you're born into kind of determines your fate. So they were all born into the lowest caste, which means they're never allowed to be hired for jobs. There's certain shops they wouldn't be allowed to walk into. And like you can become the most successful person in your own right, but you will still never be like integrated into society. I met one amazing man called Rinku in the mountains who built his own house. He's an artist. His house is incredible. Like one of the nicest houses I've probably been to in India. Yet when he came to meet us at the guest house we were staying to go for a walk, he wouldn't come in because he wouldn't be allowed into the guest house because of the caste system. Wow. So these women just don't have equal opportunities. And we sat with them at sunset and we just got to know them, and they invited us the next day to go back to their camp. So we went to their camp and saw the conditions they were living in, and Guti had like escaped an abusive marriage with her 3 children, and this other woman, Bimla, had taken her in, but Bimla was living in her own tent with all the kids, so Guti was sleeping outside. And long story short, we decided to fund buying a tent at first for Guti. So we bought this tent, I think it was like £200. The whole community gathered together to construct the tent for her. She had a safe space. Lauren and I leave India. Didn't have much contact with them because they didn't have phones at this point. 4 years later, we returned to India. It was after COVID. We go back to Pushkar, kind of with the understanding we might not see them because they often get moved on by camel fairs or police or whatever. And we get to this town and we see one of the young girls who we'd seen 4 years ago, who's now like 17, has her own baby on her arm, but I just knew it was her. And I was like, Guti and Bimla here, and she was like, wait here, and she ran to get them, and it was like this big reunion. And by this point, I'd grown a bit of a social media following online. And we went to look where they were staying, and the conditions were really bad. But they showed us that there was some land available for sale, that one of the other women in the village had managed to build a house through another tourist traveller being kind. So I got into bed that night and I said to Lauren, like, we can't like not help these people. And I said, look, I'll put some money in, but maybe this could be me using my like profile for good. So basically said, like, if we can raise £5,000, we can buy a house for this woman, like solid land. They own the land. They won't be moved on. And I put it on my Instagram, went to bed, woke up the next morning. And I mean, it wasn't really me that's amazing. It was my community, because we'd raised the £5,000 overnight, told them. It's like the most emotional, amazing thing to tell them. And then, yeah, we've built them this house that they now live in. We've got them a phone, so we FaceTime them a lot.
Even now?
Yeah,
Still?
yeah.
Wow.
I mean, they call me like 5 times a day. I'm not going to lie, I don't answer every time because it can be quite intense. But even that, like, to show another side of this is so interesting, because about being a product of your environment, they were raised to be beggars. They were taught by their parents and grandparents to be beggars. So there's also a part of them that no matter how much I've given them, they will always still ask for more. And it's been such an interesting thing within myself to hold this, knowing that I don't want to judge. Like, there's a part of me that's like, haven't I given you enough, you know? But they don't have that level of thought that I have, because they're a product of their environment. And they are told and taught to beg and beg and beg, because they will never be a part of society. So I've had to hold this boundary by, yes, not answering the phone every time, but also keeping this lens of compassion that them asking me for more isn't because they don't think what I've done's enough. It's because it's all they know, you know?
That change in perspective is everything. Talking about changing of perspective will lead me on to, you live in a boat.
I do live on a boat.
How did that come about?
So after this long travel trip, we'd kind of been living out of a backpack for like 5-6 years, and we were really craving some stability, a place to call our own. Just like a consistent bed was kind of what we wanted. So we came back to the UK, not really having much of a plan. Moved in with Lauren's mum for a while. Lockdown hit. And then we kind of didn't know what to do with our life. And Lauren's mum literally went on a walk, like a lockdown walk with a friend. Came back and was like, oh, the friend I was just with lives on a boat. Would you two want to do that? I didn't know you could live on boats in England. Like, I'd go to Camden as a kid and see the boats on the canals. I didn't realise people lived on them.
My uncle used to live on one of those.
Really?
I think
Camden?
it was Camden, yeah.
Well, I was just like, no, I don't want to live on one of them. I was like, it seems a bit weird, to be honest, and a bit like hobo-y, to be honest, was my view at the time. And then she was like, just think about it. So I went on YouTube and started watching some people living on boats and saw this lifestyle. And I was like, this actually is really cool. We couldn't afford a house at the time. Didn't really want to rent because we'd been so nomadic for like 5-6 years. The thought of committing to one place for 12 months felt really scary. We had friends still in Leeds. We had friends in London, family in London. Lauren's family are in Leicester. And we realised the canal network goes all over the UK. So we were like, if we get a boat, we can still travel around, because we had this like nomadic tendencies running through our blood at this point. But also we had a place to call our own, with our own bed, our own kitchen, our own bathroom. So let's give it a go. We took a loan from the bank. They let us buy the boat. And then, yeah, without realising, it kind of just became took on a life of its own, started like posting about it. And then it's led to a career, I guess, living on the boat, which never was intended or meant to happen. But actually leading it all back round to the Jew thing or the travel thing, the community on the boat. I just obsessed with humans and human connection. And on the canal network in the UK, people have time. And in such a fast-paced world, it's hard to find people that have time to like talk to you. And I just saw straight away this camaraderie between the boaters. Again, you could have completely different backgrounds, political views, wealth brackets. But if someone's struggling on the boats, you make sure you help them. And that was kind of the community I was craving, I guess, that we found.
Your engine and other people's things break all the time, right? And people just come and help you.
Always. And it's funny, we were talking about this the other day, when you're walking along the canal towpath, you would not walk past anyone and not say hello. But if you were to just maybe go like 200 meters to the left and you were walking on a pedestrianised street on the town, the same two people cross, they probably wouldn't say hello, which is so strange, right? It's something to do with like the gravel we're walking on all of a sudden stops or starts you, exchanging a hello with the other person. So living on the canals means we get to speak to people all the time. People are so interested. People feel friendlier. It's how often people say if they go for a walk with their dog, people speak to them, and if they don't have their dog, they don't. There's something magical about the canals that it just binds human connection, I think.
I'm not going to pretend I haven't started looking up boats since being immersed in your world.
Oh, yeah?
I think especially knowing you were coming on, I've just been watching you, and I just thought, let me just have a look.
Could you see yourself doing it?
I don't know. I need to ask about the toilet situation.
Okay, we
How
can
does
do
that
that.
happen? Like, what do you have to? I just have this vision of you having to like poo in a bucket and throw it somewhere. Like, how
I
do
mean,
you manage it?
It's not as black and white as that.
Is it a little bit like that though?
You've got 3 options.
Okay.
Without going too into depth.
Yeah. Sorry, while you're eating. Yeah.
One's a cassette toilet, which if you've ever been in a caravan is essentially the same. All of your waste goes into something. When it's full, you pull it out and it's sealed, and you empty it somewhere. Not very pleasant. Don't enjoy that.
Did you have to wash it out afterwards?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not
Great.
nice.
Great. Lovely. I'm gonna.
The second one
Roll
is
that
called
out.
a pump out tank, which is like there's a big tank kind of under the boat that you don't really see, and it's contained, and everything goes in there, and then you can get to these certain points, and you like attach like a kind of hose outside the boat, and you just press a button, and it kind of cleans it. Not too bad,
It's all right.
but it's like you have to pay every time you do it, and
How much does it cost?
I've never used one, but I think like 20 quid or something.
Okay.
But also there's just to me something weird about holding that much of your waste like in the boat. Just feels a
Can
bit
you
weird.
Smell it?
And
Sorry,
then
this is really like graphic. Do you get like?
if it's sealed properly, no, but I've heard some like horror stories about pump out toilets, so
Okay.
I didn't want that.
Okay, give me a better third option, please.
Third option, which we have, is a compost toilet, which people might be slightly familiar with if you've ever been to like off-grid places. And essentially your number 1s and number 2s are separate, because what basically causes a smell is sewage. Like if you think about how we are in houses, it's actually mental that like all the waste goes together that gets flushed into this sewage system and there's nothing that can be done with it. Whereas actually, you know, all of our vegetables are grown in animal manure. Like manure is actually a really important nutrient. So the idea would be is you separate your solids and your liquids. Your solids can then just be decomposed into compost. They're not causing any kind of sewage. They're not causing any kind of like landfill. There is some people that would then like take their solids, turn it into like biogas, turn it into like compost that can eventually be used to like grow vegetables and stuff. And then your liquids can just go in like the nature because it can fertilize the plants. And that's what we have, and that's like the most kind of feels the cleanest, and it's not too bad to,
Wait, how
to
do
deal
you
with.
get rid of it? Like, how do you?
Well, in the solids, there's like a
I love that this is the podcast chat. I just need to know.
a compostable bag, so it's
Yeah.
all in there
Yeah.
with like sawdust and stuff. So you just
Okay.
literally tie up the bag, and then you can just put it in the disposal point. So it's not too bad at
I just
all.
have like. I know you're doing amazing things, but I've just had this final question with that though. What if you need to do both at the same time?
You do both. It's
Okay.
like the toilet is like separated. So when
Okay.
when a woman sits on the toilet, they're built in a way that your 1s are going into this like bucket and your 2s are going into this other bucket. You don't have to physically.
Fascinating.
You don't have to physically like do anything. When you come
Okay.
to the boat, you'll see if you want to go
Can
to
I
the
please
toilet.
can I please
Make
come
sure you
and
need a
be on your
poo when you
boat?
come, and then you'll see that you just sit down and everything just happens exactly as it would.
You know what, I've had some
And
really
you don't have to
lovely-
deal with any of it, by the way.
I've had some really lovely invites on this podcast. Come to my mum's for lunch. Come to like a gay bat mitzvah with me. Come and
No.
have a poo on my boat.
Yeah,
Lovely.
that's the invite.
Thanks. I actually will take you up on that. I don't know if I want to poo on your boat, but maybe can I just come
When
on your
nature
boat?
calls.
I feel like I've distracted myself so much from the point, but this is where it flows. Do you think you'll ever live on land again?
Maybe. People often say, you're going to live on the boat forever. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm a very like not planner for the future. So we'll live on a boat until it feels not right anymore. But yeah, right now I absolutely love it.
And when it gets to winter, that's the one thing also, toilets and being cold. How
Yeah,
is that?
I mean, we have some boats nowadays can literally have like central heating, but we just have a fireplace, like a fire stove. And it pumps out a lot of heat. Like in the mornings, it's a bit chilly, but you get the fire going. But there's something for me that feels quite primal about it.
Yeah.
It's like you wake up, again with the phone thing, it's like I don't just flick my heating on in the winter. I wake up, make my cup of tea, start lighting the fire, get it stoked, put some like music on. It feels quite meditative. And it's like then my home is warm for the morning and then I can kind of start my day. So it's all this perspective shift, right? And don't get me wrong, some mornings I wake up and I'm like, I'm fucking freezing. I just like wish I had central heating. But I'd say most of the time I wake up and allow my mind to be like, okay, like what's my first job for the day? We gather the wood from the front, make the fire, warm it for the day, and there's this real sense of like satisfaction. You know, we've made life so convenient and comfortable for ourselves, which in some ways is great, but it's like we're just constantly making it more convenient to be able to sit there and scroll through our phones more.
That's what I've heard. I remember hearing years ago that a trade-off of this convenience is that we've kind of got all these mental health things going on because our energy has to go somewhere.
Yeah, and we've made life too comfortable. It's like we're scared of hard work.
Yeah.
We're scared of anything that takes effort. Like I sometimes tell people, oh, I have to put the phone, and they're like, oh, that's effort.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, what's the other option? Just scroll through TikTok and like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, actually, because that made me think of, you know, throwing your clothes in a washing machine. Do you have a washing machine on a boat?
We do have a washing machine. A lot of boaters don't. We do.
How?
I won't claim to know how to use it without sounding too like a chauvinistic pig, but I have no idea how to use it.
Okay, but where does the bubbles go? How does the water get in?
There's into the canal.
Okay.
So there's like an exit for the water.
Please let me come on your boat. I really
You're
want to
so
see all
welcome.
of this.
Anytime. Bring the kids.
Okay. Oh, do I have to?
You don't have to, yeah. It's funny when we say that. We're like, bring the family. We're like, no, I want to have a nice day, thanks.
When I was a kid, I fell off a boat. We hired this boat on the Norfolk Broads. It was going to be a really nice family. It was a really nice family trip. Lovely. And we got to make food in the boat. That was a great experience. But one morning I thought, I'm just going to go up and I'm going to feed the ducks. And I went in with the bread because it had been raining. No. So everyone thought it was going to be my younger brother. Yeah, that's one of the fears around,
because a lot of people have children on boats. I love meeting boat families. And people often talk about the safety and this and that. But I'm moored next to a guy at the moment. He's a single dad to 3 boys. And he's raising his kids on the boat and they absolutely love it. Like the little one has to kind of wear a life jacket a lot of the time. But it just means you have to like teach them to swim quicker, teach them to be savvy. There's a few more rules. But I find it interesting with the parenting stuff because there's so many people that are like, one of my friends that posts online, they're like, it's not safe to raise your kid on a boat. It's like we're so quick to say, don't do this because this might happen, you know. Or what if this goes wrong? You might have seen there's a chapter in the book called What If? Because so many people, I feel, stop themselves doing stuff in life because they'll say, well, what if this goes wrong? Or what if that goes wrong? Or same when Lauren and I wanted to hitchhike around the world. Or what if you get killed? And what if you get kidnapped? And it's exactly the same as saying, well, what if it's the best decision I've ever made? Or what if these children grow up to have like a complete understanding of themselves and nature because of the life they were given on the boat?
Yeah.
So I always say, like, if you're going to if you want to do something and then you ask yourself these what if questions, make sure you also ask yourself the what if questions in the positive sense, because we tend to only ask it in the negative sense, but they're both a projection of a future reality that might or might not happen. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Just that, it's that whole mindset piece. Again, it's turning perspectives, it's changing how you think about things. It takes work to become or to train your mind. It is like training, isn't it?
It was, for me, it was like retraining my mind became like a full-time job for like a year. I had the reason we didn't reach India by hitchhiking, we went through Turkey, we were on the border of Iran, and I had like a mental breakdown. Basically, I had like, I've got OCD. So I kind of, if like my mind can fixate on something good, it's really good. But if my mind fixates on something bad, it can be quite bad. And I used to suffer quite a lot with like intrusive and existential thoughts. Again, this idea of like, what's the point of life? What's going to happen when I die? Just like, what's after this? And as I've expressed, I don't have like a specific faith I follow, which I think is actually another good thing about religion. It gives people a belief system and they don't need to feel fearful of this life because they have a certain belief of what happens after. I don't hold that belief, so there's a lot of unknown questions. And my mind went so deeply into that it just felt, it just completely consumed me. So I'd never told anyone about it, but we were on the side of a road in Turkey and I turned to Lauren one day and I was like, Lauren, I'm scared of my own mind. And she was like, what do you mean? And I was like, I've been waking up every day and the first thought that comes in my head is, within 70, 80 years, you're not going to be here, and neither is anyone else that you're coming into contact with. So, like, what's the point of any of it? And then realized again when I came home that was a mindset, that was where my mind was, and I had to find this way to properly retrain my mind, which is when I picked up Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now, the first chapter reading, the title reading, You Are Not Your Mind, and just reading those words just like was like a lightning bolt in my head. Yeah. And this idea that I'd been so consumed by my thoughts and my mind that I never stopped to think that my mind is a part of me, but it isn't all of me. And if I say my mind, it means that I have the mind. So who is the my in the situation, if that makes sense?
Yeah.
And then he talks about becoming the observer of the thoughts. And that for me just really changed everything. And then made me so addicted, I guess, to spreading this message and talking to more people that feel like they're in a thought pattern they can't get out of, or an anxiety they can't get out of. Because that was me. I thought, this is me. Like, I can't believe I'm going to spend the rest of my life every day just being scared of dying and seeing no point to anything.
Yeah.
And now it's like I can't even really associate to that thought pattern anymore.
That's incredible that you changed that. Because you became a mindset coach within that,
Yeah, I felt really like once I felt like I don't want to say healed myself, but once I'd got better, I was like, well, if I can do it, like literally anyone can do it, because I'm nothing special. I'm just, just had this idea and then followed it. So I wanted to kind of share some of the tools that I'd learned on like a one-to-one basis, because I started to see a lot of pain and suffering in a lot of people, like the amount of people experiencing anxiety, intrusive thoughts. The intrusive thoughts was a big one because I had them since I was a kid. I'd like, I don't know, be in the back of the car as a kid and my mind would be like, what would happen if you like just swing that car door open now, like on the motorway? And I'd never do it, but the mind would feel like it was like attacking me. Yeah. And then it would go into, I'd walk home from school and it'd be like, if you don't run and touch that lamppost in 10 seconds, your mum's going to like drop dead, just like that. And I'd run to the lamppost and I'd touch it. And then it'd be like, oh, thank God I got there. But as a kid, I didn't realize that I was actually I was being completely controlled by my thoughts. And when this pattern started to show up again when I was traveling, I thought, wow, I need to really change this. And then when I started speaking openly and publicly about intrusive thoughts, the amount of messages from people being like, I've always thought I was insane. Like, I've always thought I was crazy. I've never heard anyone articulate it. So then I just thought if I could just express vulnerably all the crazy stuff that goes on in my head, it might make people feel, one, slightly more normal, and also to like learn the tools to get out of it.
It takes one person to be vulnerable to help so many other people.
Mm.
And you've grown this massive following as well of people that just, I guess, appreciate your honesty.
I guess so. I guess so.
How long has it taken you to build that following?
The platform. I started posting properly maybe like 3.5 years ago, but it was just like fun stuff on the boat. Instagram wasn't what it was then. I'd never make like reels or posts. It was all just stories.
Yeah.
I'd have like 100 Instagram stories a day of us just like renovating the boat. And people were just loving it. And then I started to make some videos. I've always enjoyed video editing anyway. And then, I started to talk more in the mornings about what was going on in my head with no intention. Just, I've always been this kind of person. I love open conversation. And then people started to enjoy it more and more. And then they'd tell someone else to follow it. And it kind of just grew really organically. And I never knew that it could become a job. I never imagined in a million years I'd write a book. But it just feels like that whole idea of just trusting and surrendering to what feels right.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I traveled, my mum and everyone would be like, you're not going to have anything on your CV, and what are you going to do after? And I'm like, I don't know, like I'm sure it will figure itself out. And I said to my mum not too long ago, I don't know how much the Instagram stuff's serving me anymore. Like, I don't know if it will be forever. And she was like, but what are you going to do like after that? And I was like, I don't know, but I didn't know what I was going to do before it, and I've done all right. So you just figure it out, I guess.
You strike me as the sort of person that will, like, it will just happen.
I just trust. I try not to cling to things too much, because I think we can waste energy by feeling like we have to have these certain things. And I think that kind of like clinging actually can push the things away.
Yeah.
And I've got this, like, I don't have many beliefs, like strong beliefs. Like, I don't believe, for example, everything happens for a reason or these things. But there's something in me that feels that things are happening the way they're meant to a certain degree. So I think holding that helps just, enjoy it.
Your book is fantastic. I said to you before, I got sent the manuscript, so I haven't got the real thing. It's coming this week.
Mm-hmm.
This week. I'm very excited. It is brilliant. I couldn't put it down, and I'm not just saying that. I'm like, I've got so many questions. How am I going to ask them all? But it is a really good way of just being inspired about your life. So you can get it on Amazon, right? Or anywhere else we can get
Amazon, Waterstones, mainly.
It's a fantastic book. but quickly as well. Quickly, I keep saying, but quickly we'll just cover this and quickly we'll cover that because there's so much. Sound like a broken record. I'm just very excited. Your kindness project. What do you call it? Your walking. What did you call it? Your human kindness experiment.
Yes.
You walked from Birmingham to London with a guy. Had you met him before?
No.
What brought this on?
So yeah, obsessed with human kindness. A lot of the book talks about this trust I have in humanity, talking about the hitchhiking across the world. A really close friend of mine was like, Adam, there's this guy called John. He's also obsessed with human kindness. Like, you need to meet him. Follow this guy on Instagram. He sent me a message being like, do you fancy a chat with a friendly Irish guy? I was like, yeah, sounds like an offer I can't refuse. So we had a Zoom call. We both shared this belief in human connection, human kindness. We were like, we should do something together. Initially, the idea was we were going to go on this kind of pilgrimage where we were going to be kind to as many people as possible. And then we thought that actually feels quite easy. Like, of course, we can go and be kind to everyone. If we really, really believe in human kindness, why don't we do the opposite and believe that people will be kind to us? So we decided we were going to walk from Birmingham to London, 150 miles with no money and no food and no water, and believe that along the way we had just a backpack and a sign that said human kindness experiment. Believe that people would be interested in what we were doing and interested in kindness. So literally, yeah, this is the first time speaking about it because we got back 2 days ago, and it was, I didn't know what to expect. I thought it would be good, but it was incredible. It's like definitely changed my life in so many ways.
Like, for example?
For me, it was kind of a bit of like a remembrance of like I say, this trip I did across the world. I've been back now probably 6 or 7 years. And often people would be like, oh yeah, like, but that was great, but that would never happen in England, you know? So there was this idea of the remembrance of how kind people are and how much actually people were craving connection. Because we had time, we would just wake up and our only rule, our only plan was walk. Didn't know where we'd sleep, didn't know what we'd eat, didn't know where we'd stop. And we knew on average we had to walk about 20 miles a day. It also gave me a bit more of, again, this, I guess, more spiritual belief in like synchronicities, because when I say we just met people at the exact moment we needed to for the exact plan, like some of the stuff we just couldn't write it, like it was all just too perfect. And I think we stopped seeing the magic, and that happened to me a lot when I traveled with Lauren. We stopped seeing the magic of, you know, like energy or whatever you want to call it, because we're so bound by plans. If it's like wake up, meeting at 9, gym at 11, like there's no flow. So you just kind of block out all the magic that could be there. And it would be the moment where, I don't know, we just found out, we just felt like we needed somewhere to stay. Someone would like just appear and offer us a place to stay, or I can't explain it. Like just everything happened exactly the way we needed it to. And also what it made me think was something I didn't consider that I felt uncomfortable with at the beginning. This kind couple, for example, met us, was like, let us take you for dinner. So they took us for dinner and they wanted to go for a drink. And normally I would obviously be like, oh, like, let me get the drinks, obviously, because they paid for it. Well, first I'd be like, let me pay half the bill. Couldn't do that. Couldn't also offer them a drink after. Like I felt, oh God, like I'm just taking. We spent the whole night with them. It was incredible. And then the day after, they sent us this voice note with like the most heartfelt thanks ever, saying that the experience they feel was like changed their life. And like John had shared his life story with them, and so had I. And it made me realize that often, say I go out for dinner with friends and I pay for the dinner, they might text me the day after like, oh, thanks for dinner. But there's not much impact. And the impact you can give people just by giving them actual like time and energy and connection far outweighs money. So even though I felt like I was taking, actually you also don't realize how much you're giving when you give yourself space to just give time to somebody. And it almost felt like, wow, it almost felt like a cop-out now to just like pay for a friend's drinks. It's almost like an easy way to like show kindness or show that I'm doing the right thing. But maybe I could buy them a drink but not be that engaged in what they're even talking about. So that's been like a real shift for me, is trying to give my energy more than just like buying stuff for people.
You've spoken about how you realised that your life was getting a bit too materialistic and you had to shift things around that as well. Do you feel like you've got a good balance?
Yeah, I think doing the Instagram stuff, it's like at first I got a bit, you know, it's all very like fluffy and shiny, and you're getting invited to these amazing events and these dinners and these brand trips. And don't get me wrong, I do enjoy that stuff. But again, being on this walk and just connecting with like just people that really need connection feels so much more impactful than trying to like, you know, chase material wealth. Because like full transparency, before this walk, I was very in the depth of this, my Instagram and this and that, and like I'm being successful. I have more money now than I definitely did when I traveled, but I definitely wouldn't say I'm happier. Like I can definitely, when I was just flowing through my travels with barely any money, connecting with people every day, not knowing what was going to happen, it was pure joy. And on this walk again, we got near the finish line. There was all these people waiting in London King's Cross. There was this big finish line. I looked at the finish line. I was like, I don't want to cross it.
Oh.
Like, I want to keep walking. Like, I feel like this is what I'm meant to be doing, connecting with people day to day.
Yeah.
And like I told you as I just came into your lovely studio that, now they maybe want us to go on this radio thing and this TV thing, and it's all so fun again and exciting and shiny, but I just want to be back there just doing it again.
Yeah.
So it's now, I guess, how I balance all those worlds together. But
Just keep walking.
Yeah.
Just keep walking.
Or I'm thinking like, because you need a balance. I'm not saying that we shouldn't earn money and we shouldn't do these things, but maybe I can commit one day a week to being on a human kindness experiment, or one day a week to walking with no money and connecting with people and just remembering what actually fulfills me, I guess. Do you know what fulfills you?
I'm on a journey of figuring it out. I think that's also what's led to this podcast, because I felt like, so when I'm not doing this, I'm a nutritionist and content creator, and I felt like I was banging my head against a wall sometimes with, well, I've got to produce content and I've got to do this. And it was sort of not lighting me up. I just felt a bit disconnected. And I thought, I'm just going to surrender and trust that I had this idea about a Jewish podcast come into my head. I thought, this makes no logical sense. There's no like money behind it, at the start anyway, who knows where it's going, but it feels so right. So leaning into that and having conversations and hearing about people, I honestly don't feel that I have been this lit up in such a long time. And it's similar to you when you said talking is your favorite thing and hearing people's stories. I'm so with you with that. But otherwise, when I'm out the studio, I'm also trying to figure that out. And I feel like I've been on my phone far too much, and that needs to stop. So I haven't figured it out yet, but I'm in the process.
Yeah, I mean, we all are. And I think it's this idea of where we place success. Like, if this podcast, you wanted to do it and you're doing it and it's bringing you so much joy, that is still, you are successful. Exactly. I feel like we need to, I heard this guy the other day say, really entrepreneurial guy, like big businessman. He said to his therapist, what's the meaning of life? Like, what should I be aiming for? And the therapist was like, I think the meaning of life is that every day you should feel easeful, like easeful in your body. And then the entrepreneur said back to him, okay, but can you be really successful and still feel easeful? And the therapist said, being successful is feeling really easeful. And it was such a for me, is like, success is what you choose it to be. Even if this podcast doesn't make money, if you're loving what you're doing all the time, how is that not success?
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I've met millionaires who seem deeply unhappy, and I've met, very poor people that seem very happy. So I guess it's just also remembering, what does success look like? And when we're on our deathbed and we look back, what are we going to be most proud of what we do?
I often journal about this. I've written down so many times, what would success feel like? Not what it looks like, but more what it feels like in my body. And it's very different. And this thing that stuck with me was, somebody said, you can be climbing the ladder to success, only that you realize that the ladder's up against the wrong wall. And it's those things that stick with me. And so I'm trying to get very clear on what that feels like.
Yeah, I think we should always be chasing feelings rather than things, because it's like, okay, I'm in a 3-bed house, and once I get that 4-bed house, I just know I'll be happier. Or I've got this car, but once I get that car, I know I'll be happier. And I always think, like, how do you know that something you've never had is going to make you happy? Because you've never had it. So to place your happiness in something that you've never experienced is ludicrous. But if you ask yourself or someone, what do you think having that 4-bedroom house would make you feel? What do you think having that car would make you feel? And you can answer that question. Then you can ask yourself, well, what could I do right now to maybe bring that feeling into my life? Yeah. And you might be able to feel it with everything you've already got. Like, for me, it was about space. Like, I thought, like, I need a bigger boat. What did I think that would make me feel? It would make me feel more spacious. It would make me feel more kind of less claustrophobic. So now, instead of buying a bigger boat, I've just taken those feelings and I found other ways to do it. I've joined a local gym that has a co-working space, so I'm not working from the boat anymore. And I feel spacious now, and I didn't need to achieve that thing that I thought I needed that I couldn't afford to reach the feeling. Does that make sense?
It's really interesting you mentioned this, and I don't know whether this is going to sound very strange, But when I started looking at your Instagram, I felt this real like, oh, I wish I had his life. And I thought, well, let me pull back a second. And I started to say, well, and I think I wrote this down somewhere. What is it that I'm craving? And it's this connection with nature, freedom, and it's those feelings that and I thought, well, how can I bring that in? And I'm still not sure. Maybe you can help me, because also I had a chat with one of my good friends, Zoe Bean. I think you might know her. She says hi.
Hello.
She said, ask him how we can bring your life into our lives, because we've both got kids. We can't, I mean, I'm very tempted to pack up and live on a boat, but if you can't pack up and live on a boat, I wonder how you can achieve this sense of like freedom, connection with nature, flowing life. Or I wish I could pull out my phone to realize remember what I said about.
I think you're
life.
articulating it perfectly, but I think that the irony of you or Zoe asking me this is the irony of, again, you're just giving away your power. Like, I can't tell you what's going to bring you freedom. You can. But if you can identify the feeling you want, then you're halfway there. It's like I tell this story in the book of like, often I could be having a really bad day mentally, and what I'll tend to do is sit on the top of my boat and just like reflect or whatever. But I could be in turmoil in my head. Intrusive thoughts are 100%. Had an argument with Lauren, whatever's happened. Someone will walk past the boat and they'll tend to look at me and they'll be like, oh, God, I envy you. Or like, oh, that's the life. And it's funny because I'm thinking, you have no idea what's going on, right? So what are they actually saying? They're seeing this man sitting on this boat and they're perceiving me as this version of freedom that they would love to have. Chances are this guy and you and Zoe probably don't want to live on a boat, probably don't want to deal with your own toilet waste and all the things that come with it, right? You want the perceived version of what you're perceiving me as, which maybe that's more freedom, maybe that's more flow, maybe that's connection to nature, or whatever that is. But like you say, once you identify that, that's the fun and curious part. Play around with it. I don't know what your normal weekends look like, or your first 20 minutes of your day, or the last 20 minutes before you go to sleep, but play around with things that might make you feel more free. But again, like, I don't have any answers for you. I don't even barely have any answers for me.
Oh,
so
damn.
I know, it'd be so easy, wouldn't it? But it's like,
you can go now.
But some of my greatest teachers have been when I say, well, how can I do this? And they say, like, ask yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Because, you know, I can't tell you those things.
Okay.
But it's cool. Like, the quest for it, I think, should be the fun part.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, or at least I know with her, there's part of me and her, speaking for her, that we're just craving this adventure.
Yeah.
And that looks so wonderful. And yeah.
But you can have it. Like, Lauren and I were talking a couple months ago. She was like, I want to go on a big trip again. I want to travel the world again. And, you know, I've just been away for 7 nights. It honestly felt like 7 years. Like, I can't tell you. I can't believe that was only a week. And sometimes 3 weeks can fly by and it feels like they've just gone. So you also don't need to block out 3 months to travel Thailand or something. If you go away for a week or even a long weekend that feels really intentional, you can like completely change your life, I believe. So, because sometimes people are like, oh, it's easy for you to say no kids, no this, no that. I think that's bullshit, to be honest. I think if you choose the time intentionally, then you can have huge shifts in your life.
Oh, just like a breath of fresh air and everything that we need. I'm so pleased I bullied you to come on this podcast.
So it's a pleasure.
It's so lovely. And where can everyone find your book? We know Amazon, get it. Honestly, it's a fantastic read. It's inspirational. It's like having you and this energy alongside in your home.
Thank you. Yeah, I've poured my absolute heart and soul into it. So if you did want to order it, anyone watching somewhere, would be really grateful.
100%. I'll post links and everything to it as well. And for everyone that's not already following you, where can we find you?
On Instagram, it's adam.floatinghome. And yeah, there. Drop me a message.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I look forward to coming and going to the toilet on your boat.
Can't wait for you to come and poo on my boat.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.